Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast 273. I want to thank you guys for stopping by for what's going to be just a fantastic podcast. Very excited to have my first guest for the year. But I thank you for taking time to stopping by and saying hello. Also want to thank my good friends at Bedford Camera, bedfords.com. Those guys have just been cranking it out. Didn't they do great for us during the Christmas season? Most of us got our Z9s, other great new tools, great prices, great service. And remember to mention the Moose coupon to get that 5% off. Thank you, Bedford's Camera, for sponsoring the Moose Podcast. Well, I hope you're ready, guys. You've got your coffee. I've got our other good stimulants. We've got a great long podcast coming. I'm really excited to have for my very first guest, somebody who doesn't know I've been following him for decades. I always think in my mind of him as Mr. Hollywood. I don't know. He doesn't know this, but it was either the first Matrix or the Mummy. I forget which. And I saw the posters, and I went looking to see who the shooter was. And, you know, this guy, I mean, things like, Pacific Rim, Extraction, Thor, let me think, Mad Max, Jason Bourne, the Matrix trilogy, No Time to Die. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's a reason why Jasin Boland is cinema's most in-demand still photographer. We're going to have some great conversations. I mean, he's an old guy like me. He started off at the South China Morning Post, and he's a Nikon ambassador. He's crazy and whacked, probably why I love him the most. Hey, folks, say hello to Jasin Boland. Jason.
Hey, team, how you doing? Golly, gee, that was one hell of an intro, buddy.
Well, you know, I can't remember which poster it was that caught my attention. It could have been Jason Bourne. I mean, it was something in the 90s, not to date ourselves. And I went looking to see who took the shot, and that's how I first came and became aware of you. And I've been following you ever since. We've been you made the first intros, and I'm grateful that you did, and I've enjoyed our friendship ever since. But, you know, that's not what people want to know about. You're shooting in this incredible environment, which if you had never spent any time on a set, and I've had very little, way back when, but you're not just taking pictures, you know, you have I assume you're doing a lot of your 85-1.4. But do me a favor, just set the basic, you know, pick any kind of movie, maybe something current, like No Time to Die. Just set the scene, what you're doing as a still photographer on a set, would you please?
Yeah, sure, Moose. The way that I work on a film set is I treat it like it's a real environment, and you know, I'm a PJ, I'm a photojournalist out there. Telling the story of the director's storytelling. So, you know, I come from a newspaper background, and I've kept that style current since the 90s, you know, all through my work. So something like No Time to Die. Now, on No Time to Die with Bond, I only shoot the action. I don't shoot the cast, and it's the only what we call action unit or second unit that I do shoot. So those days are full of me going out there and just shooting crazy stunts and, you know, finding places to shove my camera and, you know, like mount them on rigs. And, you know, I have literally everything set up so that I can put a camera on the front of a DB9 that's going to do, you know, 100 mile an hour and not fall off. And, you know, I have to get it on there when they're finished, when the grips are finished and the camera are finished. And so I literally have like a minute or two to set it up. Whereas on my general work, it's more reportage in a way. You know, I'm out there to get the main marketing images that are going to be used for the publicity and promotion of the film. But, you know, I'm also doing behind the scenes. And, you know, we've had this chat before, and, I love the behind the scenes of my my landscapes, and I'm somewhat of a failed landscape photographer, unlike your accomplishments, so it's a lot more full those days, and I have a lot more to cover, so to speak.
So let's just take a step back. First of all, everybody, if you couldn't tell, Jason's not from the States. He's from down under. He's Australia. And right now he's in Berlin, working on a project we can't talk about. But I want to go back just for the tech nerds, including myself. You said you just put a camera on a rig that's doing 100 miles an hour. Well, no, you just don't put a camera on a rig and go. So give me a little nuts and bolts, like how you actually physically attaching it, what camera, what lens, and how you actually firing that puppy.
Yeah. Well, we've had this conversation before, and about you with your air to air, how it's so beautiful that you can actually be there. With a lot of my stuff, it's no less dangerous than what yours is. But I can't physically be there. So what will happen is on the camera vehicle, or something that's set up for a shot for the film, is it'll be full of scaffolding, and I'll literally have I'll have a whatever camera is, like sometimes I'll use a D750, a smaller camera, and then I'll use like a D4S or a D5, and I have them in a cage, and in a camera cage, which big metal housing, so to speak, so I can attach all my remote controls and triggers and stuff like that. Now the remote controls that I use are Pocket Wizards. I only use the Pocket Wizards, and I can layer them all over the place. And on Mad Max, I was getting like 300-400 meters out of them. And if I had more, I could literally string them all the way. I could go kilometers or miles with them, I guess. But the key about with a Pocket Wizard is you do have to layer them, because the RF from the cameras that are used on a film set is so powerful that you can literally be standing underneath one, and 15 feet, 25 feet above you is a camera on a crane, and it will completely cut it out. So you have to,
wow.
I use like 8 or 9 of them.
So, okay, let's take Mad Max. They're chasing through the desert.
Yeah.
Are you in a pursuit vehicle firing the camera? Are you in a helicopter? Are you lying flat on the bottom of one of those cars? I mean, how's that all work?
Well, apart from the helicopters, all of the above. I mean, like I'm allowed to be in the vehicles with the guys, that are traveling, unless it's a big stunt. I've got stuff which, with explosions and flamethrowers where I am right next to it. But, with the bigger stuff, I can't be on that actual vehicle. So I'll usually hitch a ride with the stunt guys, because they'll be pretty close. And I will shoot with a physical camera. And at the same time, I always shoot with a remote. So in those days, I would only have, a couple of cameras out there, because there just wasn't, because the distances were so vast. It's not possible to keep coming back to them. But whereas something like on No Time to Die, or Skyfall or Spectre, I could have 5 and 6 cameras on the one scene, and I'll shoot it with a physical camera as well. And at the same time, I'll have one of my stunt buddies will have hold of my Black Rapid strap, and then a sash harness, and literally hold on to me, and I'll be shooting, firing away with the physical camera and the remote, and then they'll pull me out of harm's way as things all get closer.
Now, how often are you made up as an extra so you could do your job, and in case the camera happens to get a glimpse of you, you look like you're supposed to be there?
Well, not very often, but what happens is I'll clear it with the visual effects department, with the supervisor, and I'll just say, hey, listen, I'm going to be in the back of this vehicle, or I'm going to be over here, or I'm going to have a camera on the ground there. Is it sweet? Is it something that you're going to paint out? And 9 times out of 10, it'll be okay. and the other 10th they'll say not there, but Jace, you can put it over there, because they have witness cams as well. They have cameras, GoPros and stuff. So if I have a better spot, quite often they'll let me take that spot, and then they will just mount a GoPro or something on top of that so that they've got their witness cam.
Well, so one of my favorite shots of yours is from the No Time to Die. The Austin is doing its 360, spraying the plaza with its magical Gatling gun out the old headlight trick. So how did you get that shot from overhead?
Oh, Moose, that brings a smile to my face actually, just hearing you describe it, because it is one of my favourite shots, and it's a very brief moment in the film. And what happens there is they've got a what's called a techno crane, and I think it was might have been a 50 or a 25 footer, but it's up high enough for them to look straight down. And it was actually a late call with the guys, because I wasn't sure whether we were going to do it, and it was like, guys, I got to get a camera on this, and they're like, yeah, no worries, Jace. And so I literally hand over my little D750 with an old 35 f2, which is this beat up old lens, which has just come up with some extraordinary images.
Great lens.
Yeah, it is a great lens, and it's so.
It's a great lens, yeah.
It really is a great lens, and it's underslung underneath the camera. And, I've got some photos I'll send you later so you can have a look. But then I have got another 4 cameras on that actual scene that we're talking about. So I'm pressing the button on my Pocket Wizard, and we only did it once, and I couldn't see it because I'd got no remote up there. So I just had to guess, and it was just like, it was perfect. It was like, I couldn't have hoped for it better. If it had been a 28, it would have showed too much other stuff and I would have had to crop it. But that's uncropped images.
I just absolutely love that shot. It's just like so spot on. All right. So you put in your Instagram feed quite a bit some of your admiration and love for some of these actors, the stars you're working with, like in Extraction. How much time do you get to interface with the named talent, and more importantly, how many of them come up to you and say afterwards, "Did you get that shot? Can you give me that still?"
Well, I'm lucky enough to have a great relationship with a lot of people that I work with, especially Chris and guys like Matt Damon and Jason Momoa, and the relationship goes as far as both of you want it to go. And with those guys, for example, it's just buddies having a chat, and you got to be mindful that there's a lot to remember and a lot to do. There's the choreography as well, on top of lines and stuff, but they always make time for me, and to the point that I did this great shoot last week with one of them. And we were doing it. It was before action, and it was on the other side, like of a wall, and they or a door, and they come through it. But I had my Z6 II and my 50mm 1.2, and oh my, I was shooting it at 1.6, I think it was, or 1.4, and you wait till you see these. It's just a slither of light on one eye, and with that 50mm 1.2 Moose, it's absolutely sweet. So the relationship you have is really important, and you've also got to know when to leave things alone and when to walk away. And that's not because someone's grumpy. That's just because you've got to let them concentrate on what's going on. And so, I pick my moments, and I don't like to do setups. Often I like what I call the director's performance, and they let me shoot that director's performance. If it's a massively intense emotional scene, I might not need that anyway, but 9 times out of 10, they let me be wherever I need to be, and if it is a distraction, even the greats like Sir Ben Kingsley will sit there and go, "Hey, Jace, just a little bit to the left, sir," and it's like, No problem, Sir Ben. Whatever you need.
So you've talked about your love affair with the 85-1.4, but if there's one lens that you use a lot for the what you call the director's shot, is that the lens you use most of the time for that, or is there you just pick the lens you need for that particular scene that's being filmed?
Yeah, I mean, I have two go-to lenses. I mean, my 24-70 and my 70-200 2.8 zooms, they are constantly with me on cameras. And then, like I was just saying, with that came up with the 50mm 1.2. I actually sometimes I try and spend the whole night on one lens, and I know that sometimes it can feel a little bit like being lazy, but I'll have the 24-70 with me. But I just want to love a prime, and I just want to shoot with that one lens the whole night and just go home, do my first pass and just kind of go, wow, and just appreciate those lenses. Because we all have, you're like me, we have so many lenses in our bag, and there's a few that only come out really rarely, but when they come out, that shot always gets used. And, I actually want to do a lot more of that. I want to engage my primes a lot more. And the Z9 is a camera which I've been doing that a bit more with, but, we'll see.
So you say when you go home at night, but I mean, how many nights out of the year are you actually at home in Australia?
Well, before the current situation, I wasn't home very often at all. And then I had bookings for 2 years in Australia, and then we all know what happened then. And everything just slid a little bit, which was fortunate. And the film that I'm working on at the moment, that was actually meant to shoot in Australia, and then it got moved to Europe, where I am now, and will be until the end of March. So, those those nights at home are infrequent. I was lucky in the early days, for my son and wife, Maria and Hunter. They travelled with me for the first 9 or 10 years of his life, and he's only 14 now, but he's a big hockey player, so I don't like to take him away from that. But they're actually with me now, they're fortunate enough to come over for a holiday, and so they get a lot of travel time.
So at the end of a project, a film, about how many stills do you think you have for an average project? I mean, you have thousands and thousands. I mean, how many transpire during that project?
That's a really good question, Moose, because I shoot action, I shoot a lot more and I deliver a lot more than general photographers would. And the reason for that is when you're looking at one of the posters, it's not always just the one image. You've got the background, that they'll take the one image and they'll use it for publicity, but then there'll be something about it. They'll go, this is a poster or a billboard or what we call a one sheet, and then they might take an arm or they might take a leg, and just these little things to perfect it. And I love it because I'm just like Mr. Hopeless when it comes to Photoshop. I like do a radial and a tonal contrast. But these guys are absolute geniuses, and when I see the work that they've put into it, and not only that, but how far they had to dig into my work to find it, because the question was about how many. I can deliver 50 to 100,000 frames on a film, and I can shoot 1,000, 2,000 frames a day and bring that edit down to, a couple of hundred, and maybe 300. And then from that, I will then do my own personal edit with my dodgy Photoshop, and I'll bring that to 15 to 25 frames.
And you're delivering to the client all NEFs?
Yeah, I deliver all NEF, for the studio, and for the film studio, and also for the photo studio. But then I will do JPEGs as my edit, which I'll deliver. And then also with Disney, I do smart objects. So because I use Nick software, NIK, I'll do smart objects so that I can record it for them. And if there's a frame one side or the other, instead of coming straight back to me, they can match it and see what I've done and go down that path.
Well, I just think you're a rock star, and I just love looking at your stuff. But I know that, especially with current times, my listeners are going to want to hear about that Z9. And you and I have been talking about it, and you're one of the first to have an IP, and you're out there and you worked on the campaign. So let's just talk about what we call the Z9, what you call the Z9, just for a little bit longer, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. I'm always in trouble. I get it confused whether it's Z or Z these days.
Well, us Americans have to do things our way. What can I tell you? So the first thing I want to bring the Z9 back to your industry. The one time that I worked on the set, we had to have a blimp case, and for those who don't know what a blimp case is, I still have it. It's a metal box that is a soundproof box. So when you're on the set shooting, the shutter and the curtain and the mirror bounce couldn't be picked up by any sound recording. Now, the first thing when you pick up that Z9, if you turn off the animated sound for the shutter, you could shoot 120 frames per second, and you would never know you even shot one. So for you, when you start you're on the set with a Z9, are you going to go to that complete silent mode, and then do you get to drop having a blimp case?
Yes, sir, I do. And it started with the Z6 and Z7, obviously, and prior to that, I had to carry around, like you said, that the blimp that you have is a Jacobson blimp, and I started off with them, and then I developed the Aquatech one with Alan Love, and it's revolutionized my industry. I can't tell you how much, because it's unfathomable. Now the Z9 is next level again, and I've always sat there and I've been waiting for what I call the Holy Grail. And for what I do on a film set, the Z9 is the Holy Grail. I am so excited. I've only had it on a film set a few days. But there's I get to start it in the new year, probably when we're talking. But the last scenes that I shot with the Z62 before we go into it, is I beat that poor little baby up so much on the roof of a train that I actually am glad that I didn't have the Z9, because it would be battle scarred, and I want it to look pretty for a little while longer, because in the blimps they never got damaged at all. It was like you buy a camera from a film photographer and they've never seen daylight. But the thing about the Z9, if I can, Moose, is let's forget about this being mirrorless. This camera is shutterless, and that just absolutely blows my mind. And as old photographers, it's been said before. It's like with a shutter, you never actually see the image that you took because the mirror was up. And now it's like you're shooting live. Now, the first time that I pulled the Z9 out, I was at a hockey match and I thought I was looking through an OVF. It was the most amazing thing. It was really, and it makes me speechless talking about this camera, because it's everything that I dreamed about. I always thought that I hoped that I'd get maybe a hybrid with a D4 and a Nikon 1. And we got so much more, didn't we?
Well, I mean, you started out with FT2. I started out with an F2. And that old clunk, the firm pressing of a shutter release. I always got a kick out of people complaining about the blackout in EVF. I'm like, wow, you should have had some F2 or F3s, bud. 'Cause let me tell you, you take a picture, it's like, where'd the world go? But the Z9, in so many ways, I'm glad I wasn't asked to be on the design team, because what they came up with is from, I mean, just so far out there in the future. But do me a favor, talk about how you might set up the Z9 to do a director shoot. Just in your mind, pick a scene, tell me the lens, and tell me some of the basic setup you might do for the Z9 to make it seamlessly fall into what you do so beautifully.
Yeah, I'm just sitting there looking at a scene now, actually. So the first thing I do when I set up my cameras is I turn the I turn the card lock on, and then I turn the focus wrap on as well, so that with me, because it's also quick, and maybe my brain doesn't work that way, I like to keep going forward. If I get to the end, to come back, to move my thumb, I can miss a shot. So I'm a 3D kind of a guy, so I'll pretty much set it up in 3D. Now with the Z9 II, I can set it for 3D, but I can also have it default to face recognition. Now this is one of the big things that I found with the 3D on it, was I started using the 3D how I normally would with my D5 and D6, and I would put it on the face and let it just move around. But I started doing that with the Z9, and I thought, let's just have a look if I put it on the chest plate. And to my amazement, it's picked up the face, like it's kept the point on the chest, but it's also put another box on the face. And as the hockey player got closer, it's then gone into eye detect through either the grill or the visor. And I know I'm meant to be talking about a film set here, but it completely blew me away. So,
no, the 3D on the Z9, I don't think it's fair to compare it to the older cameras. I think it's a whole new animal to me.
It's completely different animal. And the Z9, as we both know, is a photographer's camera too. You have to input the correct data. If you don't put the data in, it's going to do what you tell it. And
just for my American listeners, data means settings.
Settings. And yes. And and the biggest thing that I found with that was in the past I have set my focus tracking lock to 3 because I really didn't see a difference, a noticeable difference between 1 and 5. But with the Z9, it was the difference between getting the image and not getting the image, to the point that I was shooting some motorbike stuff and, a jump, and it was a blind entry, so I couldn't see the motorbike coming onto the jump. And so I thought, well, I'll just pre-focus on the top of the ramp, and then when the rider comes above that, I'll just pan with it and it'll pick it up. Now, there was this big delay, and I got like 2 frames at the very end, and I'm like, what's going on here? And I'm like, oh, what did I have the delay set on? So I had it set on, I had it set on slow so that it would hold it. And then I took it off and I put it onto fast, and boom, straight locked on. And it caught me up 3 or 4 times. So it's a really, really important part of this camera. What number
are you using most of the time then?
It depends. No, well, I'm not. I'm using 1 and 5 more. I'm using delay, and I'm using quick draw, which before I've always set it at 3. Now I think that if it's an image that isn't critical on focus, like one of the shots was going through a river creek. And of course, the water came over in front towards me. And normally, you know, if you've got it set on quick, it's going to focus on that water. But because I had it set to delay, it stayed on the rider's helmet. So just things like that.
Well, Jason, you know, you and I could talk, and we have talked for hours. I'm afraid that, believe it or not, the half an hour has already come and gone. What else how would you like to finish this podcast? What would you like to share with these good folks?
Well, Moose, there's two things. Number one is that what you were saying about me earlier is I followed you for a long, long time for your amazing air-to-air images, and I still stalk your Insta page with a come on. But
I love your comments.
I love them. But the one thing, apart from this mutual friendship that I would like to share to people is something that I live by. It's a two-parter. Number one is make the job work for you. Don't work for the job if you're a professional. If you're not a professional, and even if you are a professional, the other big thing that I live by is success only comes from failure. Now, I've been fired from jobs. I haven't got the good enough image. I've missed out on getting images of stunts and stuff like that. Just take it home that it happens to all of us, and you're only going to win. You're going to only win. That is true. You're only going to win by losing a race, so to speak, from time to time. So just keep it in your heart. Remember that we have to fail in order to succeed.
Well, Jason, you're a silent star out there because movie posters don't have photo credits on them. But I know you're going to have a whole lot of new fans out there. So where can they find you on the internet?
Thanks, Moose. Well, I've got my Instagram, which is Jasin Boland, and it's, Jason with an I. And there's also my YouTube channel where I have talks with other photographers, including you, Moose. So all your listeners, if they haven't been over there to check it out, we do have a wonderful chat on there. And, I've got a new Z9 video on there. And that's about all I do. I pretty much, I have a Facebook page for photography, but it's not a big one, but it's mainly Instagram and the YouTube channel.
Well, my dear mate, I can't thank you enough for being on, you had to be my first person to do this because, I just love you to death. And I thank you for your time and please be safe out there.
Thanks, buddy. I will be. The other rule is always have an exit. So I know where to get off.
Well, folks, thanks so much for dropping by. And remember to make every click your story.